Welcome to Art Ed Radio, the podcast for art teachers. This show is produced by the Art of Education, and I'm your host, Tim Bogantz. All right, welcome to day 2 of December, and the first Tuesday of every month. As you know, we have a mailbag, so it is time for the December mailbag. Amanda Hine is with me. Amanda, how are you?
I am great. I like that it's the second, and it's the mailbag.
It's perfect.
It's perfect.
Yeah, we're starting off the month right, and that's the way to go. Also, I'm just curious, not to be so basic, but how's the weather?
Yeah, I mean, in Wisconsin, we get like 1 week of fall, and I feel like that already happened, which is my favorite time of year. But I feel like we're going into winter pretty hard. It's, we have pulled out the winter coats. I haven't pulled out Papa Puff yet. There's a jacket that I have that my kids call Papa Puff, as opposed to Baby Puff, which is my thin down jacket. Papa Puff is like 7 inches thick, and it's great. And we don't need him yet, but Baby Puff has made an appearance. So, we're on our way.
Thank you for giving us the context for Baby Puff and Papa Puff,
You're
because
welcome.
I think longtime listeners will appreciate that. But people who are just joining us are like, what's this lady talking about?
I know.
So
It's the best.
but that does give us a good reason to introduce ourselves. My name is Tim Bogantz, for those of you that are maybe just joining us for the first time. And I host the Art Ed Radio podcast here and do the Art Ed Now conference for the Art of Ed. I taught a little bit of elementary art. I taught a lot of high school art and been working for the Art of Ed, doing a lot of things for quite a while now. So, Amanda, can you give us a quick introduction?
Yeah, I'm Amanda Hine. I'm the Director of Community Engagement here, and I started my career as an elementary art teacher.
Right. Thank you. Now, before we get into some good stories and some good questions, I know you have a few housekeeping. I know you have a few housekeeping things. So, can I turn it over to you to give us the rundown on everything we need to know for December?
Yeah, really, you only need to know one thing, which is that December is our holiday giveaway extravaganza in the
Perfect.
community.
Yes.
Okay, this month has everything. It has you can win so many things because, well, let me back up. We are doing this to show our appreciation, right? Teaching is hard. Teaching art is even harder. Teaching art in December is maybe the hardest.
Yes.
So we just want to bring some joy into your life. And so we are giving away so many things in the community in December to show our appreciation. So right now we have available some free things for everybody. So we actually brought back an old keynote presentation from Dr. Sandra Dalton Smith. Is that her name? Did I get that right? Yes. Called How to Not Wake Up Tired. It's an excellent presentation on the 7 types of rest. So you can go ahead and go watch that. We have store discounts going on. And then we are giving away so many things this month. AOE store gift cards, free Art Ed Now registrations, free access to curriculum and professional development for an entire year, university swag prize packs. 25 teachers are going to win $100 to fulfill their classroom wish list. We have sponsors, including Blick, NASCO Education, Jelly Arts, Sculpey, and Quell. So there are prizes from them. Just don't miss it. If you are not a community member yet, head to community.theartofeducation.edu. In the side panel, in the side navigation, you will see the giveaways right there. They are highlighted in pink. Go find them.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's tough to miss them.
It's tough to miss. Fill out all the things, register for all the prizes. And then also come to Art Club on December 4th. So later this week, we are going to be learning about mono printing with Jelly Arts, and they are going to be giving away a special prize during that. And then we have Pop-Up Studio on December 15th, where you can win a $50 gift card. So you can come hang out for either of those events. Like maybe you're addressing your holiday cards. Maybe you're wrapping gifts. Maybe you're working on a gift. Maybe you're just working on some art for yourself. Whatever you're doing, we would love to have you hang out. So And then I have
Very
one
cool.
other, okay, no, I said I had just one, but there's one other housekeeping item,
Well, can
which
I guess what
is
it is? Can I guess what it
yes.
is? It the new trailer for
It's the new
Framed?
trailer. I mean, the framed trailer, which is our newest YouTube series. Lindsay McGinnis, huge shout out to our media content manager, has made essentially an art game show for us to all watch and enjoy. And it is
It's so
excellent. So
entertaining. It's so much
it's
fun.
there's smack talking, there's art making, there's insight. Go to YouTube, subscribe so you don't miss it. You're gonna love it.
Yeah, the trash talk was like an unexpected highlight for me.
I
Like I
know, it's
did
such
not
a
think that was
delight.
it was fantastic. So, any quick stories that you want to share before we dive
Oh,
into the mailbag questions here?
yes. Okay. So recently in November, I turned 40. And
Yes.
first of all, I feel like my truest, most powerful self. Also, my also my birthday was great. I went to a dance for old people called Hot Flash with my friends.
Yes, everyone needs to hear about this because it's such a great concept. I love it.
It starts at 7. It is wrapped up by 9:30. They play hits from the from the 90s through today. It really is the most life-affirming space I've been in a long time. It is great. Also, one of my friends got me the best present ever, which is a Rainbow Bright doll, because guess who also turned 40 this year?
Are you the same age as Rainbow Bright?
I'm the same age as Rainbow Bright, who was my favorite cartoon as a kid. So that was amazing. And then my husband, okay, for 20 years, all I've wanted is Dance Dance Revolution in my house. Are you
Mm,
familiar with this arcade
I
game?
was gonna say this is not a skill that I have. Like I'm not good at DDR, but of course I'm familiar with it.
Yeah. So we always, when I first wanted it, we lived on a second floor apartment. I was not going to be that
Yeah.
person. Then we had kids and it got too big. Anyway, my husband you have to build it. So you have to get a separate computer to run it. You have to buy this metal mat from Poland. Like there's open source software. Um,
Okay.
and Toby Hine, my husband, has made me Dance Dance Revolution, and
That's
me and my
incredible.
family have never been happier.
I
It's
was gonna ask, like, are the kids into it?
oh my gosh. We have to tell my 9-year-old, you have to take a break. He's dripping sweat, and I'm afraid he's gonna like have a heart attack. He's going so hard. It's been very fun.
Your kids are gonna be in great shape when
We're
springtime
all
comes
gonna be in
around.
great shape. Yeah, that's the hope.
I love it. I love
What
it.
about you? Do you have any stories to share?
Oh, just I guess two things really quick. I went to a great exhibit that just opened at Jocelyn Art Museum here in Omaha, and the artist name is Canepa Hanska Luger.
Ooh.
And he's a Native American artist that makes these incredible sculptures. I don't know. I want to say sculptures, but it's multimedia. It incorporates so many things, and it was so fantastic. We'll link in the show notes if anybody is interested in finding out more about him. He's also on Art 21, so a lot of good
Hmm.
information about him. But if you're familiar with Nick Cave and his sound suits, like
Yes.
that was the first thing that kind of came to mind when I saw these, but they're even more elaborate. And it's fascinating because he mixes this traditional Native American regalia with future technology. And like it's really tough to explain, but
Ooh.
it's fascinating. And so went to this special exhibit and I loved it. I loved it. So just an
Yeah.
artist that I think is doing some cool, interesting, unique things and something that I would recommend everybody check out. So I like that. And that was a highlight for me. And
Yeah.
then the other thing that I'm looking forward to is next week I'm going to interview Austin Kleon, who is, for those that did not see the announcement, Austin Kleon is our featured presenter for the Winter Now conference. He is the author of Steal Like an Artist and a bunch of other books, and a writer and an artist and a creative. I think like he embodies the term
Yeah.
creative, I would say.
Yeah.
And I get to go talk to him for 3 or 4 hours, and I'm really, really excited about that. So, I'm going to Austin, Texas to interview Austin Kleon. It's Austin
We
in
love it.
Austin, which is perfect, but I'm really looking forward to doing that. So I'm about 3 days away from hopping on a plane and going to do that interview. So I'm really looking forward to doing that.
That's so fun.
Okay, all of that being said, are you ready to answer some questions?
Yes, let's go ahead and open up the mailbag.
All right. Now, when we did our live recording in Chicago, we started off with our hard-hitting question about favorite candies.
Yes.
And so we wanted to start off this month, December, with another hard-hitting question, which, if you're writing in, like, give us more of these. These are so much fun. This is from Bryce, and Bryce asks, what's your favorite and least favorite slang that you're hearing from kids right now?
I love it. Okay, I'm going to start with a love-hate, which is 6'7"
Of course.
or 6'7". Okay, because no one
I
can
love
see
how
me.
both of us are just, it's an
We're
audio
doing the
podcast,
hand
but we're
motions.
both.
This has become such a thing at our house because ironically, our kids hate it. And
Yes.
so my husband and I have actually been the one to adopt saying it because they hate it. And that's fun, when you're a
Yeah.
parent.
Yeah.
Um, but I think it's silly and it's probably my least favorite. But I also like to troll my own children with it.
That's fair.
Okay, in terms of loves, there's a lot that I'm loving right now. I'm very into vibes. I like
Mm-hmm.
talking about
Mm-hmm.
vibes. I love talking about crashing out. I think that's very fun and relatable to me in my life. Something that I can use more often than I'd like to, probably. And then I also really love delulu. Delulu is great. It's fun to say. You
Yeah.
know what it
Yeah.
means. I think it's top tier. I also like sus
Mm.
and it's giving, but I'm not sure if the kids are actually still saying those two.
Oh, that's a good point.
You
So,
know?
well,
Um,
I should ask my research team because my kids, my
yeah.
research team is my senior and my sophomore. But yeah, I wanted to get their perspective on what's going on with slang, and I did notice this. Fire seems to be making a comeback. I
Mm,
really like fire. I think
yeah.
that's a good one. My son told me that everyone hates 6'7", but they just can't stop doing it. Like nobody
Right.
likes
That's
saying it, but it's so
yeah.
ubiquitous. It's everywhere. And so it
Yes.
just continues on, even though nobody really cares about it. Nobody really likes it that much, but
It's a compulsion
it's
at
not
this
going to
point.
stop. Yeah. I just learned one a couple months ago. I think I shared this at art club when we were there. Op. Are you familiar with op?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So again, this is somebody who similar to a frenemy, if you remember that one. Maybe a little more antagonistic, but somebody who's your opposition, shortened to op. High key, low key, that gets used a lot. And I asked my son, I was like, here's what I think this means. And he's like, kind
Am
of,
I
but kind of
right?
not. And so I don't know if we have a clear definition for when we should be using high key and low key. So
Yeah.
I'm
Are
just
they
staying away from that
interchangeable?
one. No, they're not. And again, there are
No.
rules for like high key
Okay.
versus low key, but yeah, it just that one's not for me. I'm not loving that. And then my daughter is not using this, but my son is. A lot of things are tough. Like things that are really
Mm,
cool, really fire. Like those are tough. And so I've been hearing a lot of
interesting.
that lately.
Is it spelled like tough or is it
Like the
like
UGH, TOUGH, tough.
okay.
I don't know. Although I guess he's never texted it to me, so I don't know for
Sure.
sure. But yeah, I do hear that one a lot rather than, that looks good or that's going well. And like
Yeah.
that's tough. So
Okay. While you were talking, I did do a little investigative journalism for us, and I do
thank
have
you.
an answer on high key, low key. Do you want to know it?
I do because again, I had a full conversation with my son about this, and I was like, "Can you put it succinctly for me?" He could not. And
Okay.
so I would love.
Okay. This is according to the internet. So, high key is used to express something you feel strongly about and are not ashamed to admit. Okay. So,
Okay.
the example given is I high key want to quit my job and travel the world. Okay. Low key is used to describe something you feel but are hesitant to admit, excuse me, or want to keep private. So, like, I'm low key obsessed with that TV show.
Okay. Okay. That makes sense to me. That is not what I
Yes.
was told how they were used. So
Well, the
that's
internet
okay.
might be wrong.
No, I'm gonna guess that my kid is wrong, but that's fine. What that sounds like though is someone our age writing what I
Yeah.
can, what you mean, and not a teenager who's actually using them.
You're right. You're right.
So I don't know. I don't know. But for whatever reason, just talking about slang is endlessly fascinating to me.
Yes.
And I think it is for most teachers as well, because it's part just sort of catharsis of like, I'm so
Yeah.
annoyed by this. Let me get these
Trauma
feelings
bonding.
out. Right. But also like it's fun to watch its development and fun to see how kids are using those things. So it's
Yes.
always enjoyable. So always happy to talk slang and always happy to get fun questions like that. So I really like those. Our next question is from Todd. And Todd asks, how do you manage the feeling of always being behind, whether it's grading, displays, or lesson planning, and still find success in your art room? This one feels very familiar to a lot of teachers, I think. So,
Yeah.
Amanda, what are your thoughts here?
Yeah, this is so normal for so many teachers. Even if you are on top of things, you often feel like you're not because it's never done. I feel like it's
Yes.
akin to laundry, which is my least favorite chore, and it's my
I was
least
gonna say
favorite.
dishes, but
Yeah, because
yes,
you're
whatever
always
your least favorite
eating,
chore
you're
is.
always where it's just it can never be fully complete, you know?
Yeah.
And so I think we need to maybe reframe what successful means so that you can like check it off the list. So, I'm a big fan of prioritizing and sitting down for 5 to 10 minutes at the beginning of each week and determining what does success look like for that week. What are the
Mm.
3 to 5 things you need to accomplish? Now, realistically, you have 15 things or 25 things or 40 things to accomplish.
Right.
But I would encourage you to pick 3 to 5 that will help you feel successful that week. And what are the big wins that you need to get done? And it doesn't have to be something really huge. It could be, I want to connect with a certain student this week. That would make me feel successful because they
Hmm.
haven't been engaged, right? Or I want to swap out a hallway display or whatever. It doesn't have to be something huge, but picking a few things to focus on, because then you're in control of what feels like success. It just gives you a little bit of that control back. So that would be my suggestion, I guess.
Yeah, I think that's a great suggestion. Well, a lot of great suggestions because my answer looks very similar to what yours looks like. And I think that idea of just normalizing the feeling of there's so much to do. Like you said,
Hmm.
there are 20, there are 40 things that could be on the to-do list every week, and you're never going to get through all of them. And so just realizing that that to-do list is not going to get done, that's fine. That's fine.
Hmm.
But you can prioritize and you can make those choices. And I think it's important to figure out what your priorities are. Like that hallway display that you just mentioned, for example,
Hmm.
that would be low on my priority list because
Right.
nobody's going to be walking through and be like, oh, that has been there for 5 weeks now. Oh boy.
Yeah.
No one's judging that. That's fine. So that would be low on the priority list for me. For other people, advocacy, showing off kids' work is super important. So they want to
Hmm.
change that out. They're going to feel better when they're displaying new work and celebrating their kids. And that's awesome. But you just need to make those choices for yourself of what you're going to do. And I love the idea of figuring out, what those three successful things may be, those three goals for the week. I think that's the perfect mindset. I would also say that just having small systems that I guess are self-perpetuating, I really hate cleaning brushes. So if I can assign that to a couple kids I trust in my sixth period class every day, like, hey, can you clean up 2 minutes early and take care of the sink? They're in charge of that. I don't have to worry about it. It's not on my to-do list anymore
Hmm.
and just figure out those small systems here and there that can be super helpful. But I think the biggest thing is if you want that feeling of being successful. Like you said, find those goals, meet those goals, and then be able to celebrate those successes. If the room is finally clean, celebrate that before it gets messy again. If things are finally organized, celebrate that before the routine of the art room kicks in, and that organization or that cleaning is back on your to-do list. And whatever else you need to do to take care of yourself, take care of your room, do that, and just kind of be mindful of all of the demands that are on your time and how you're dealing with those.
Hmm. I think that's a really good point. Think about what can come off your plate because chances are you are doing things you don't actually need to be doing. Um, or find one thing that can make your life a little bit easier. I remember, trigger warning, the pandemic when I was spiraling out of control and I was talking about it in therapy and my therapist was like, "What is one thing you can take off your plate?" And literally the only thing I could think of was dishes, going back
Mm,
to chores.
yeah,
And so we ate off of paper plates for probably 3 weeks until I felt, that I was like, could be on top of that again. And that was fine, like take the shortcut, take the help, take something off of your plate that doesn't
yeah.
maybe need to be there.
Nope, I think that's great. And I think everybody who's listening right now probably has at least one thing that they can think about that they
Yeah.
can probably take off their plate, which can be incredibly helpful.
Yeah.
Amanda, can you read
Okay.
our next question from Maggie?
Yeah. I was going to say we have an adjacent question from Maggie, who is wanting help in juggling wearing multiple hats in the school and classroom while trying to keep up with all of the art prep and classroom organization so that everything just flows.
That's
Tall
a tough
order.
one.
Tim, your
It
thoughts?
is. No, like you said, this is an adjacent question because again, there are 20 things to do, there are 40 things to do. How do you keep up with it all? How do you make things that just flow? Prioritizing, I think, is going to be a huge part of this. And Maggie said, we're trying to juggle wearing multiple hats. I would encourage you to focus on what is your main hat, like being an art teacher. Like, yes, you still need to do lunch duty or bus duty. Yes, you need to
Hmm.
do hallway displays, but focus on being an art teacher and focus on what you need to do to keep your room organized, to keep your routines in place, to keep things flowing well. So, think about the prep work that you're doing. Think about the cleanup that you're doing or your kids are doing. What are the routines and procedures that you can teach kids, that you can take off your own plate, you can have them help with, that continue to make your life easier on a day-to-day basis? Because kids knowing what to do and following those routines is what creates a flow in your classroom. Because if you this is not something that just immediately happens. Like you need to teach these
Yeah.
routines, you need to teach these procedures, you need to follow through with them. But when you get to the point a couple months from now, when you say it's time to clean up, please make sure your work is on the drying rack, your brushes are in the sink. And then you let them go, like that is flow. Like you don't want to be
Hmm.
chasing around, going table to table. Like make sure you get that here, make sure those go to the. No, wait, like figure out your routines, your procedures, teach them, follow up on them, and that will help keep things organized. That will help keep things flowing. That is in your classroom. And I would love to tell everybody this is how it's done, but it's different for everybody.
Yeah.
Like everyone has different supplies, different kids, different classrooms, and different personalities. So you need to figure out what works for you. What do those routines look like? What do those procedures look like for you? And what's going to work for you and your students? But once you put that time in to figure out the routines and procedures for each part of your day, that's going to help you A, stay on top of things, and B, keep your classroom organized and flowing in the way you want it to.
Hmm. Yeah, I think that's a good point. I would think about this as any other skill you're teaching kids in the classroom also. So you're scaffolding from your youngest students to your oldest. And that's really helpful, especially in the art room where we often, depending on what level you teach, get to see kids year after year because they are going to retain some of that. And so if you can start building those routines and procedures with kids from the get-go, and not letting them deviate. And what I mean
Yeah.
by that is don't be afraid to reteach or reset expectations.
Talked about that a a lot before on here. Like, don't be
Yeah.
afraid to go back, whether it is behavior or, setup of the arm or putting your work away. Don't be afraid
Yeah.
to reteach those skills if need be.
Right. Now, are you still going to have a fifth grader who asks you where the scissors go when they've been in the same place for the entirety of their school career, which is on the table in front of them? You are. Definitely. But on the whole, that can be really helpful. So my suggestions are similar. I like to think about the word automation. What can you automate? So, yes, you're creating routines and procedures for your kids, but also for yourself. So, one of my favorite tips, which I think I've talked about before, is to break my to-do list into time-based tasks, excuse me. So 5 minutes, 15 minutes, and then longer. And that way, if I have a few minutes, I can choose a task that fits the amount of time I have. And I find that completing those little tasks throughout the day then leaves me with a bigger chunk of time when I get to my prep or, after school time or whatever to really dive in and tackle bigger things. So I would always be looking for things that I could do if I knew a class was coming in. Could I fill the water cups while my current class was working, for painting the next class period or whatever. And like you said, Tim, having the kids help where they can is great. Kids are so capable and they can help you run the art classroom. And don't be afraid to change things up. If things aren't working, try something new. That's okay too. I wanted to talk just really briefly about or mention three learning opportunities we have for professional development in pro learning. There's a pro pack called Organizing Your Elementary Room for Success. There's another one called Elementary Art Hacks. And then we also have three packs called Surviving Your First Year of Blank, insert your grade level there, elementary, middle, or high school art, which all have tips about organization and routines and procedures. So those would be three things I would point you to if you're looking for even more about this topic.
Yeah, those are all excellent suggestions. If I can just follow up with surviving your first year of elementary or middle school or secondary art, even if you're not a first year teacher, if
Yes.
you're thinking about routines and procedures, I would suggest going back and watching those. And there may
Yep.
be a couple spots you can skip with things you already know. But if you're looking for different ideas about how to run things in your art room, like those are a great resource.
Yep.
Our next question is from Tyler, and this one is a rough one. I just came back from being gone, and the nightmare substitute happened to me. I'm sorry, Tyler. Materials used up that weren't even supposed to be out, horror stories about behavior from all of my classes, even my stash of Halloween candy in my desk drawer was gone. What do you do in this
No.
situation? I feel like I did everything right with plans and directions and all that, so I don't need advice on what to do before. What do I do after a terrible substitute does everything wrong and messes up my room?
First of all, Tyler, thanks for the excellent question. This is so succinct. He told us what he didn't want, he told us what he did want, and I very much appreciate it.
Appreciate you being assertive and direct with
Yes.
your question, Tyler.
So, first of all, the candy. I'm sorry about all of it, but you can maybe pretend that you don't know what supplies to use if you're a sub, but you
Hmm.
cannot pretend to say, I didn't know I was supposed to eat someone else's personal candy. That's
Right.
crazy. And I mean, I'm being a little bit silly about the candy, but I also think it speaks to the level of boundary violations we're
Hmm.
working here from this person who was in your room.
And also, I don't want to be too flippant, but this feels like an important point because I know there are people out there saying you're an adult, you can go buy more candy. After Halloween, it is a mix of candy. Like it's coming from so many different places. Like, yes, I can go buy a bag with three things, maybe even a bag with five different candies.
Yeah,
But your Halloween stash has a dozen different candies, 15 different
priceless.
candies. You can't get that back.
Okay, so first, please feel your feelings. This is supremely annoying and
Mhm.
unprofessional.
Mhm.
It sounds like you did everything right and had very bad luck with the person who was in your room. So I have a five-step plan for you, okay? Because I thought a lot about this and what I would do. And I think the first thing is to document everything. So if things were destroyed, you're taking pictures. or you're writing down what you can remember, what plans were ignored, what personal items, candy were taken, what materials were used, right, etc. And then I would absolutely share your concerns with your admin. So that's step
Mhm.
two is you're going to draft
Definitely.
a message. Step three, you are going to stay calm and factual and focus on the impact to the students. So this is not,
Yes.
even though it's like, yes, of course, you are annoyed and you're going to have to take extra time to fix this. I would really talk about how it affected your students because that's ultimately going to be more impactful, I think, with your admin and show that you are thinking about this in sort of a very mature professional way. So that might sound like I had a really exciting metal tooling lesson to celebrate Lunar New Year that I can no longer do with the students because those materials were used. Or, you know, the person in my room was allowing students to use the adult size scissors, which created a very unsafe learning environment, right? Etc. Whatever went on, and how it affected the students. And then I would say you'd be happy to schedule a follow-up meeting if desired and do that. That's step four. Have a meeting if you
Mhm.
want. And then step five, I would let the administration do their job, right? Like what
Yeah.
you can do, what you can control is to communicate what happened succinctly and professionally. And after that, it's a little bit out of your hands. I'm hopeful that your administration will not let this person back into your room. Obviously, you could make that formal request. Hopefully, they would just do that. But you could add that to
Right.
your letter. Like, I'd like to request this person not be allowed back in my classroom for obvious reasons. But hopefully they will follow up and, implement any consequences or next steps that they need to.
Yeah, I think that's good. And I don't have a lot to say to follow up on that because it's just the most Amanda Hine thing ever to be like, I wrote up a quick 5-step plan for you. But I think that's all really good advice. And I would just say quickly, the last thing I would add is to discuss it with your kids, but don't
Yeah.
dwell on it. Um, I'm a big fan of prepping your kids for a sub, but Tyler said he did not want that, so we're not going to talk
Yeah.
about that. But I would say you do need to address the situation with your students. You don't need to even speak badly about the sub. Like you can
hmm
stay professional and just say, hey, things did not go the way I wanted them to and say, moving on, we're going to do X, Y, and Z. And you can talk to your kids about respect, about work, about cleanup, about whatever the issues may have
hmm
been. But I think just being able to talk with them and say, this is what I'd like to see happen next time. Even if things are not going well, I still expect this behavior from you. And feel free to address that quickly, but then go ahead and move on. You don't need to dwell too much on what happened.
Yeah. Because depending on the age of the students or the maturity level, like some of this, depending on how poorly the substitute was running the classroom, could the kids have been behaving better? I'm sure. If the sub gave them free rein to the paint and they haven't been trained on that, like, well, that's not entirely
I
their
was gonna
fault.
say
But
that's not on the kids.
no, but I agree about like, just a general message about respect and things like that is a good idea.
Now, our final question today is from Shannon. Shannon says, how do you get a para to actually do their job? This is paraprofessional for anybody who may not shorten it like that.
Classroom aid, yeah, it goes
Whatever the case
sometimes
may
by
be.
many names.
I have a para who is one-on-one with a kid in my sixth period class, but she really doesn't do much. She'll help if the student really needs it, or she'll help other kids if they ask. But other than that, she's just on her phone scrolling the whole time. How do I talk to her about actually doing her job without starting drama? I'm going to try that again. How do I talk to her about actually doing her job without starting drama? Should I get my principal involved?
Okay, this is a tricky one and a great one. So, first, again, validating this can be really frustrating because now
Yes.
this has become an extra thing to manage versus someone who is supposed to be there to support a student and you,
Right.
right?
If this was supposed to be helpful and all of a sudden it is extra work, that is
Right.
frustrating.
So, As hard as this is going to be, I think the first thing you should do is assume good intentions. I think a lot of paraprofessionals want to do a good job, but they maybe haven't had very clear expectations set for them.
Right.
Um, and furthermore, the art room can feel extra intimidating. So if someone doesn't believe themselves to be a good artist, which we know a lot of adults have a lot of feelings about
A
making
lot of
art,
hangups. Yes.
a lot of hangups as evidenced by the I can't even draw a stick figure mentality that is pervasive, right, among grown-ups. So she might feel uncomfortable. So I would start with a one-on-one conversation. I would not go directly to your principal. We'll talk about that in a minute, but I would start with a one-on-one conversation. That said, I do think you can start again documenting specific things that you feel might be problematic in case you do need to escalate the situation later. It's always good to have some concrete information about that. But I would focus the conversation on how to support the student and ask for her thoughts to make it clear you're on the same team. So you
Yeah.
could start with something like, I'd love to chat through how we can best support Johnny in the art room. I'd love your thoughts. What do you think's going well? Where do you think they might need more support? How can I support you in better helping meet their needs? Because I think that that's going to open up you to understanding her perspective. She might say, I don't really know what to do, right? Or if he's working on something, I'm not really sure what I'm supposed to be doing. And then you can get a better sense of maybe why she's behaving the way she is. In the conversation, I would also provide a list of expectations, right? And to keep it from feeling confrontational, you could just say it's something you just learned about and wanted to
Mm,
implement in your classroom, right? You
yep.
just
Yep.
attended a training, you listened to a really great podcast. I don't know what you're going to say. But basically, you need to be outlining exactly what the para can do to support the student in each phase of your class. So, what should she be doing during the introduction sort of teaching part? What should she be doing during work time? If the student is on task versus off task, what does her support look like? If the student can or cannot complete, the project as assigned, what modifications do you have available in your room? And then obviously cleanup is where things often go off the rails. So make sure to include that.
True. True.
And I would also provide a list of tasks she could help with if the student doesn't need help. Can she sharpen pencils? Can she organize something for you? Can she go take down a display that's in the classroom, right? So she can keep an eye on the student. Whatever it is, whatever you need help with, I think that would be great. The other thing that I don't know, your mileage may vary, but sometimes a paraprofessional will stay more engaged with a student if they're making their own project. We don't want them
Yes.
working on the student's project unless they are providing hand over hand support or something else, right? That's outlined in the student's IEP. But if they have a small sketchbook and they're made to feel as like part of the classroom and free to experiment, that might go a long way in building rapport and getting them invested in what you're doing in your classroom.
Yeah, I've had a lot of success with that, like letting them do the project or letting them work on, not even letting them, encouraging them to, create rather than just sit and watch.
Yeah.
Especially, I feel like everyone's had the issue where the parent is like doing the work for the kid,
Yep.
and that's endlessly frustrating, but
Yeah.
that's a different conversation. And I would say for me, I want to just kind of echo that point about giving them direction. You talked
Hmm.
about getting their thoughts on how the things are working with a student or what might be best. And that may work with like an experienced para, but for
Hmm.
the most part, I would say I would just give them the direction. And
Yeah.
I don't want to sound too harsh from that, but I would just say like this is what I need you to be doing. And I think laying out those expectations are really key. And like you said, for each part of it, I think especially important during downtime, but during cleanup, this is what we need. During work time, this is what we need. And just laying out those expectations is going to be pretty important, and that's going to be most helpful if you can communicate exactly what you want to see or exactly what you need them to do during the time.
Hmm.
Um, what about the phone use?
Yeah,
So,
what about the phone use? Because I think there's two things. What about the phone use? And then if the conversation doesn't work, when is a time to bring it up to the principal? Like, how do you sort of escalate both of those problems? I'll pull a
Yeah,
Tim Bogatz and ask you a two-part question.
perfect. I love that. So here's what I would say. I would have the conversation first saying, this is what I'm noticing. These are the expectations. This is what I need you to do. Most likely that's going to fix the problem. If it doesn't fix the problem, that's when you want to escalate to the admin and just say, here's the issue. Here's what we talked about. This continues to be an issue. And you don't need to go to your admin and say, do something, but you can go to your admin and say, what would you like me to do? How would you like me to
Mm-hmm.
handle this? And so that's how I would escalate that. As far as the phone use, my guess is that that's happening just because they don't know what else to do.
Mm-hmm.
And so, again, that conversation about expectations will hopefully, likely solve that problem.
Mm-hmm.
But when you are having that conversation, I would frame it as a student-centered issue, not a you're doing this wrong, you need to get off your phone issue,
Mm-hmm.
because then that treats it as not a failing on their part but an opportunity to do better for the kid. And so
Yeah.
if it's was Johnny the name you used,
Yeah, it was Johnny.
you could say, I think Johnny is most successful when the adults, you and me both, are fully engaged with him. Or you can say, I think it's difficult for Johnny to stay focused unless we're giving Johnny our full attention and we're engaged ourselves. So can we model that? Can we make sure that the phone stays put away and we stay focused on what we need to be doing in the classroom? And
Mm-hmm.
I think framing it like that, having that conversation, which may be a difficult conversation. It may be an easy conversation. I'm not sure what the relationship with the pair is, but it's a conversation that needs to happen. And so I think laying out those expectations, framing things in that way will really give you a much clearer idea of what you need to do if it doesn't even, solve the problem
Mm-hmm.
outright.
Yeah. I would say one more thing or one more thought is you may not go to your principal first either. There's potentially someone in your school in the special education department who
Mm,
oversees the
yeah.
paraprofessionals work.
Yep.
So whether that's a lead special ed teacher or a case manager or whatever. So you could also ask them before you escalate right to your principal. So,
Great
and then I also
suggestion.
wanted to point out two resources
I was
from,
just going to ask about resources because I know we
I
have
have
good
them.
ones.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So there's a really excellent article called Three Ways to Cultivate Successful Relationships with Paraprofessionals in the art room we will link to. And then there is a pro pack with a ton of great resources, including prompts for paraprofessionals, templates for a guidebook, all sorts of things to set you up for success called Collaborating with Paraprofessionals. And you can find that in Pro Learning.
Yeah, both awesome, awesome resources. So, Amanda, anything else that you want to share, want to talk about before we wrap things up for the day?
I don't think so. I'm just excited to see everybody in the community and excited to give away so many prizes. So
It's going to be
come hang
awesome.
out.
And just for everybody who's out there who's listening, you can make it through these last 3 weeks before break. You can do
You
it.
can.
We're going to
You
get
can do
there.
it.
Thanks to Amanda for coming on and covered a lot in the mailbag today. And I hope that the questions and the conversation can kind of remind you that you're not alone with the challenges that are coming this time of year. Whether you're dealing with slang or all of the responsibilities that you need to do or recovering from a nightmare sub. All of these stories, all of these questions are a reflection of what we're all facing on a day-to-day basis. And so that's why we like to talk about routines and boundaries and expectations and prioritizing what truly matters, because being an art teacher is demanding, and it's okay to talk about that. It's okay to say this is a difficult job, but at the same time we need to find those ways to move forward. So I hope that some of the ideas, some of the strategies that we shared today, weekly goals, getting kids to help, automating your small tasks, or reteaching your routines, communication issues, all of those things can give you some ideas, some ways forward in the days and the weeks ahead, because making those small changes, even if it is just a small thing here and there, those can be helpful. Those things add up, especially during a month when your time and your energy are lacking. And there are a lot of things that hopefully can help. And like Amanda talked about in the beginning of the episode, we want some joy to be part of this too. So if you can get over to the Art of Ed community, we're really hoping that you can take advantage of not only the events that we have happening with Art Club and other events that are going on, but also the giveaway Extravaganza. There are a lot of great things coming your way, and it's important to care about yourself. It's important to celebrate yourself. And I think as we're doing that, it's important to remember that as an art teacher, you're doing incredible work. You know, December can be tough. You may not feel incredible, but your students are benefiting every day from your creativity, your care, from the consistency you bring to your classroom, even on those days when you are tired or you are overwhelmed. So over the next few weeks, take a few deep breaths, lean on your community, find some joy where you can find some joy, and just keep going. Okay, you're almost to the finish line of the first semester, and we know that you're going to get there. Art Ed Radio is produced by the Art of Education with audio engineering from Michael Crocker. Thank you, as always, for listening to the show. We would love for you to share this episode with anybody who might find it worthwhile. And if you're loving the podcast, please leave us a 5-star review on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you listen. We appreciate the ratings and the reviews.